Well, welcome back to Turner Music Academy while I get my bearings straight here. We left off in episode 6, Return of the Jedi, talking about the harmonic minor scale. We're going to finish off talking about the minor scales today. The last one is the melodic minor scale. It sounds lovely. And then we're going to talk about chords. Just a brief, again, intro to chords. I'm not going to talk about inversions or cadences or anything like that, but stuff that you need to know. But this is like, again, all of the knowledge, in all sincerity, is enough to like really allow, in this series, to allow a musician who has been what I call a player, who again maybe has classical training or knows an instrument to, or knows how to read music at least, but really to like start writing music at definitely a professional level. Even though that a lot of this music theory knowledge is, grades probably like 1 to 3, maybe I've touched on 4, maybe in this video of the ABRSM. But that's more, it's important stuff, all of it is, but at the end of the day, this will let you perform anywhere. Like you could perform at any theater or stage, and in all sincerity, with all of the knowledge that I've given in this lesson, sincerely write music. So let me stop yakking and get to the chords, so then you'll have a base. Other than rhythm, I didn't include rhythm, but I said very openly that rhythm is the most important thing to music, and it is. So there will be a video on the percussion, clef, and just kind of rhythm in general. But and I did the notes. I did how to count, so there is like again the knowledge of rhythm there. So, anyways, let's talk about the melodic minor scale and what it is, and how to write it and stuff. Okay. So here we are. And to cap off, we did the descending harmonic minor scale in the last video. So here what we're going to do is the melodic minor scale is different from the natural minor scale and the harmonic minor scale, because how you do the exact same thing. So you calculate the key signature, then you write in your scale. Okay, this I have prepared for you as a theorem formula you could use. But like I said, for the musician, again, theory, like the formula, it is knowledge, especially like natural minor scale, major scale knowledge. But you really ought to like just practice writing in the notes. Like that is, so you know the notes, in whatever clef you're working in. And again, I didn't do alto clef or tenor clef, but again, all this knowledge applies to those too. So, here we go. What you do is you raise the 6th and 7th, so your submediate and leading tone, by a half step. Ascending only. Okay, so here I've written the scale, and remember for the harmonic minor scale, which you only raise the 7th by a half step or semitone. So we raised the leading a half step. So we went from F in the natural minor scale to an F sharp. Okay? And now on this scale, this is our scale here. We have G, A, B flat, C, D, E natural, F sharp, G. Okay? And that's it. But if we look at the descending version of this, here's what we're going to see. So again, notice we've raised both the 6th and the 7th here. If we look here, this is still E flat. Yes. So for descending, what do we do? So we have G, F, natural, E flat, D, C, B flat, A, and G. So notice that we didn't, it is essentially the same as a natural minor, in all sincerity, descending. So this is the melodic minor scale. Okay, just keep that in mind. So that's that pretty much. Moving on, now we're going to talk about chords. And what is a chord? Well, the definition of it is 3 or more notes played at the same time. So we're going to talk about a couple different things here. We're going to talk about tonic chord triads, which is composed of a tonic, so our 1, our mediant, and our dominant. Okay? And then we're going to talk about primary chords. So a lot of the stuff like Mozart has written in, and like, you know, a ton of rock songs are written in like this. Like one of my favorite things that I've done and created in majors, like a 1, 4, 5, 6, back to 1. I've done like 1, 4, 5, 2. I've done 1, 4, 2. I've done all kinds of stuff. And again, it's like, it's really fun, and you can just dabble and kind of play around. But your primary chords, generally speaking, are like, I mean, they're just used a lot. And like I said, you will know how to write professionally from this one lesson. Because again, the 3 pillars of music, as I've said many times before, reading music, music theory, and then writing music, they all flow into each other like a game of chess. You know, you've got your opening, middle, and end game. And reading music and then having the theory to back it will like really allow you to understand the keys of music and then write it really well. With chords, you establish a rhythm along with a percussion line, and then you can do all kinds of stuff with like modern music, or even, you know, orchestras or bands. You can do cool stuff like this is like way beyond, but, or, you know, you can do fugues. Fugues are all like have chord relationships in them, and that's again a kind of piece of music. So all kinds of stuff. So our primary chords, like I said, will be the tonic chord, the 1 chord, the 4th, and the 5th. In this example, we're in major keys. So here I have a C major scale, and what I've done is I've highlighted or circled the tonic, the mediant, the subdominant, and the dominant. And the tonic, so what you do is for the tonic chord, all you have to do is to figure out the chords of the 1, the 4, and the 5. You need to know, first of all, their relative position in the scale. So we have 1, 4, and 5. Okay. And then as I said, the tonic chord triads are just, you could say, so primary chord triads would be just like a tonic chord triad. Okay. So a tonic chord is composed of 1, 3, and 5. And so how we would write that as a chord is like this, to where, and this, I'm not talking about inversions or cadences in this video, among other things with chords, but just so grounding ourselves in reality here. So we have C, E, and G, okay, and that's our tonic chord, and you would always write them like with the whole notes in the staff like they're balancing balls, okay? Like just one on top of the other, and you see that they do fit, okay? So our next chord is going to be for F major. So how do we figure out an F major chord? Well, the simplest way to do it, again, is from a 1, 3, and 5 interval ratio proportion. So we start, it's the same thing. So we know that we're in the key of C here. As I've already shown you, we're always in the key of C. So what you can do to find an F major chord that will fit within the key of C is just do F, start at F, go a mediant. Okay, so find F's mediant, which is, we know that the mediant is 2 spaces after a tonic. Okay, So if we're starting at F, that's our relative tonic in this case. And then we know that the mediant of F would be A. And we know that the sixth note of C major is A. And then what we do is we go find the dominant of F. So we go another mediant from our mediant, or the space of another mediant from our mediant, which would be C. So the notes for this F chord would be F, A, and C. So again, how do you write them is exactly like the other example. So here's our F, here's our A, and here's our C. And we know that this C in relationship to this one is an octave higher. And we also know that F and A and C are all sit within the lines. Yes? Okay. So how about G? Well, it's fairly simple. So now we're going to find our fifth chord. So we're going to start at G and make G our tonic. Then we're going to go a mediant to B, which is going to be our third. And then what we're going to do is we already know that a fifth is basically is the dominant. So there are 4 notes in between a tonic and a dominant. So that's all you have to do for this example too. So basically, if I were to do this, I'm going to do it in this pen here. So if I were to add a note here to this scale, and you should already know what that note is. Keep that in mind. It's D. Well, we already know that here's D, so it's the next octave, okay? And this note here is basically in the relative, if we made this our tonic, even though that again the tonic is C, but our relative tonic for this example, if we made this our first position here, this would be our mediant, and this would be our dominant, okay? So here are the notes that compose that G chord. It's that simple. So you have G, B, and D. So how you write them is G, B, and D. So every good, okay, boy does. And what would be this one? Very simple. Fine. This one would be F. You should already know that. You get the idea. I turn this into a quarter note, it should be a whole note. If we wanted to add another one here, which if we do that, this would be E and this would be F, so this would actually be a seventh. You're welcome. Anyone that plays bar chords on guitar. Okay, so next we're going to talk about minor chords. Here we go. Bar chords for the minor key. So it doesn't matter which version of the minor scale you use for the tonic chord. Stop and think. Why? Because, sitting at home, Bueller. 1, 3, and 5. We didn't do anything to 1, 3, and 5 in any of the minor scales. Okay? So our primary chords, we're going to use the same 1, 4, and 5, but we're going to use the harmonic minor for this. It's so you can create harmonies. Okay? So if we're in now C minor, okay, and we know that this is our key for C minor, and we're in treble clef. Okay, here's our scale. I've used the harmonic minor scale, and it's the same thing. Now you would use C, but notice our key signature. Remember the key signature. Okay? So I'm just going to write this out for you. Okay, so we have C, and then a whole step to D, a half step to E flat, okay, a whole step to F, a whole step to G, a half step to A flat, and then we would have, this would be B natural, because we've raised the seventh, and then we're going to go back to C by a half step. But remember, if this was, this would be what? This one would be what? B flat, okay? So those are our notes for the harmonic minor, okay, scale. So as we can see, so C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B natural, and C. So we know what our C chord is, right? But again, don't ever forget when you're using, always remember your key signature when you're writing in your chords. Okay, so for this example, we do a 1, 3, and 5. So we have our scale. Now you see why it's important to write in your notes, okay? Because previously in the major key it was E major, right? But so we have C, D, E flat is our mediant, and then G, so that's our chord. And I have it written here even though, pardon the whiteout. And then next, basically you use the 4, the 6, and then the octave. So we have F, and then this would be, I wrote A there. I must have been in a hurry because this is A flat. Clearly I was. Look at that whiteout. Back to C. And then for our last example, we use the 5th, the 7th, and then the next step, this would be the 9th, you could say in theory, which would be what? Well, we know that this is our second, so we just want to repeat that. So that would just be D. We don't have any D flats or sharps. So that's it. And now, so that's the end of this lesson. I hope you sincerely have enjoyed it. And what can you expect? I mean, I've already touched on it. You now have the power, really, to write your own music in whatever key you want, major or minor. You know, like I said, I didn't touch on any Japanese scales. I didn't touch on the modes. I didn't touch on, there's a lot that I did not touch on. But you can stand toe-to-toe with professionals on a lot of different things. And by my estimation and by my experience, at least people who are getting signed to a record deal, know that you're, first of all, be able to pick apart pieces with your mind, and I've talked about that, and then whatever it is, the more you learn, the more you will really be able to do that well. But and see the music, you know, what it is. But you'll be able to be better than a lot of people who, you know, might even be getting paid a lot of money, relatively or just actually, you know, to you know, be in a successful band or, you know, even playing solo places. So, and again, now you have the ability to write. You know how to write. You learn how to write from knowing how to read and music theory. Again, they all flow into each other. Reading music is really important. You wouldn't be able to know anything about music theory if you didn't know how to read music or play an instrument. Music theory is very important because, again, it is what music really is at the finite or even infinite level. And it's very powerful. So, you know, like I said, I hope you've enjoyed this, and, you know, be a supporter of the channel if you love my work. There's a link in the description down below to my Etsy store where I've got several listings for sale, all customizable. I do oil on canvas paintings, among other alcohol ink-based renderings, and oil pastel. And I do color theory. There's tons of great designs on there. And if you're not familiar with what design is, briefly, it is basically all of the finite geometry that makes pieces famous, or makes artists famous. Why a piece is like $100,000 or whatever, or more than that, is because the artist creatively expressed that he or she knew about a system of design, and more like it, in the case of Van Gogh, every single brushstroke in a Van Gogh is a tessellation. So you probably didn't know that, but lots of work to check out. I've got phi. You know, I've got the same system of proportion that Leonardo used, and it's in the Parthenon and all sorts of other things. So check it out if you're interested. And I also check out my other YouTube channel if you're an athlete or you're interested in like sports philosophy. Like I said, YouTube only lets me do 2 channels per year. So as a serial entrepreneur, I always stay busy. So you behave and stay great out there, and you know, apply some of the stuff. If you have any questions or you want to take lessons with me, or just say hi, just email me at turnermusicacademy@gmail.com. See ya.